Good evening, everybody, and welcome into the number one Group of Five college football show in the world. This is the Group of Five guys, and our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, the voice that the mainstream sports media absolutely will not be. We need your help to do that. We need you to hit the follow button on all the social media platforms at Group of Five guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcasts. Subscribe to the channel, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends all about us. On this special Tuesday night, holiday night, Memorial Day weekend show, we have to talk about none other than Greg Sankey. I feel like, again, we've got to talk a little bit about NIL Go and Deloitte, and we've got to talk about the newly released straight seeding for the 12-team college football playoff. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the Group of Five guys, and we are coming to you live.
I admire how much focus and energy you're putting on this part of college football.
We looked at each other. We was like, Mike, the best place to be is a Group of Five. So I'm sitting here with the Group of Five guys, right?
Troy has won. It's been a winner, and it's a special place. So it's why you want the job.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Those across there, you want to have this thing packed out, have the student section packed out, giving those guys hell on the sideline. I mean, that's part of it. I mean,
win or lose, like we're winning the tailgate.
There's no better place to be developed in this country than Boise State.
Well, Jeff, did you have a nice Memorial Day weekend, my friend?
Absolutely, Sprouse. Spent time with the family. Closed the shop, obviously, yesterday in honor of, the soldiers and men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice. I wanted to, really talk to my employees about, what it means. I think people get Veterans Day and Memorial Day a little bit mixed up. So, let them know exactly what that is and explain to the kids as well. But, yeah, man, it was great. And now we're leading up to the old ball and chain, going to Mexico for our 12-year wedding anniversary tomorrow. So we'll be in Mexico for 5 days, come back. Dominic's 10th birthday the next day when we come back. So this is it's a jam-packed week for the Murphy household.
Yeah, well, ain't no doubt about it. 12 years. Congratulations, sir.
Appreciate it,
Congratulations to you and Scarlett. Of course, I remember that day when you had about half of the men at your wedding were wearing knee braces, couldn't get pants on or anything like that.
What's funny is we were talking actually the other night. We had dinner for Memorial Day, and my mother-in-law Gina was talking about how she had to stitch extra panels in the old Swag Bears vest. She was like, "Do not eat any cake."
That is great. That was a heck of a time, man. I remember driving over there with me and old Josh Walker heading over there. We got lost because, of course, the street there is confusing with Rucker, Christiana, and I don't want to give everybody your address, but But anyway, great time. Congratulations to you guys. And yeah, man, Memorial Day. Of course, thankful, grateful for those that did make the ultimate sacrifice so that we can come on here and bullshit about college football for a little bit and complain and do all the things that we do freely. We didn't do a whole lot. Went over to, there's a local kind of a state park that's got, I don't want to call it a waterfall, but it's got like where she's kind of got the river running over the rocks and you can kind of slide on the rocks a little bit. Just took the kids out there, had a good old time. And then of course, all weekend we fired up some good food, got on the grill a little bit. So I have to shout out our friends at Gridiron Spice Company, Jeff, because I did burgers with the varsity blend, and then I did some chicken thighs on the grill with the triple option blend. So just fantastic stuff. If you haven't already, make sure you check out gridironspiceco.com. Use our promo code GOFG for 10% off, and they've got 4 different seasoning blends on there, and they're all fantastic.
Sprouse, the farmers market is back up and rolling here in Murfreesboro. I got some American Wagyu ribeyes, and I used
Really?
the Varsity. Oh man, one of the best steaks I've cooked in a really long time. Those suckers were like, they were fat. I smoked them for about 45 minutes and cranked that sucker up. Sear with the Varsity blend on it.
Yeah.
Tip top.
Now, I've been telling you about Wagyu beef for a long time, Jeff. There's only one place in these United States where you can get a Wagyu slider at approximately 3:37 a.m. and have the time of your life. We'll talk about that on Group of Five Guys After Dark.
No question.
But yeah, you're going to Mexico, Jeff, and baby number 3 for the Sprouse household could be coming at any day now. So if I do have to jump off of this podcast, that's where I'm going to the hospital. So we've got my mother-in-law is in town for the emergency event, but you know how it is, man. Could be today, could still be like a week and a half, 2 weeks, so but
just kind of waiting around. It's like a guessing game.
It's like you're on call.
Yeah.
Back in the day, my dad is a retired police officer. Back in the day, he had a pager, and when he was like on call, they would page him like in the middle of the day. You know what I mean? Like the page him, and then he'd have to go to the phone and call the number back to figure out what was going on. But anyway, that's what it's like, man. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to make hundreds and hundreds of outbound cold dials while I'm working. And I'm just kind of like waiting. It's like you kind of paralysis by analysis as you wait around, thinking any phone call or text you get is the one. So very exciting times in both of our households in these next week or two. So going to be a good time, but we got a lot to talk about, Jeff. A whole lot to talk about. This weekend has maybe been like the best for content purposes and for like engagement and impression purposes. It's been one of the better off-season weekends we've had in a long time. So we got to talk about Greg Sankey. We got to talk about the 12-team playoff and the straight seeding. But first, last week we talked about Deloitte and the NIL Go, kind of that NIL Clearinghouse. And one of the things we had talked about was, how do they decide market value? How do they decide intent of the payer? So I dug through a little bit and I found this is kind of an outline per Deloitte. This is the range of compensation framework. Okay. And this is they have this broken down into bullet points. So, and this applies only to third party NIL deals. So I guess if this is an in-house type of a thing, then free for all. But here's what we're doing here. We're going to it uses historical data as benchmarks, excluding roster value and recruiting incentives. The way I look at that is, kind of like you look at the NFL, right? A QB gets a big contract, and then the next year, no matter who the QB is, they're getting a bigger one. It's kind of, and you're just going to keep seeing that. That's kind of the way I look at that. That's whatever. Sounds good in theory, right? I mean, you're going to use historic deals and all that. Now, here's where this is the concern we brought up last week, and this is where I would like to raise some more concern. It's going to factor in athletic performance, social media presence, and local and institutional market size and brand influence. So here's the concern that I have. So when they talk about local market size, I mean, okay, are you talking about your USC, right? And your Miami, you got the LA, these big markets.
Yep.
Are they allowed to, have a bigger paycheck? But then when you talk about institutional market size, yeah, USC's in LA, but market size in LA, like brother LeBron James in LA, ain't nobody worried about Caleb Williams. You know what I mean? Yep. So that's where my question mark is. And then, you look at specifically the schools that are paying the larger amounts, or, you're looking at your SEC and your Big Ten schools. Well, like, look, Tuscaloosa, Alabama is not a big market. I mean, Birmingham is a decent sized one, but it's not anything crazy. But so where does that come into play? So what's more important? Obviously, the Alabama brand has a ton of market size, but Tuscaloosa as a market doesn't. And that's what we talked about last week, where if you're the quarterback at middle, well, the Murfreesboro, Nashville market is a bigger market than the Knoxville market, but the institutional market size, UT Knoxville has the bigger. So that's where I wonder, how are they going to weigh them both? And when it comes to combining that, and then, to relate it to the group of five, you look at a place like Memphis, where, and really the entire American conference is relatively larger markets. So if you have something where, Memphis and Ole Miss are relatively close in proximity, but if you have Oxford, Mississippi compared to Memphis, Tennessee, and Memphis might be able to pull something out of the hat and match an Ole Miss deal. See what I'm saying here, Jeff? Are you getting what I'm kind of saying? So I just wonder how they're going to make this work.
No, I think that's why they put the language in there, local and institutional market size, because that's where, in my opinion, that favors the Power Four schools. I mean, the schools like Alabama, like Auburn, who their local markets aren't great, but their institutional markets, the power of those markets is what is going to jump those NIL deals up so much more than the group of five. And again, it hinders because most of your group of five markets, their institutional market size is not great outside of a handful of programs, right? So I think that only hinders the group of five, 100%. I don't see any other way around it. I mean, maybe in the case like you're saying, Memphis, because it's Memphis is a big city.
Decent both. I mean, you have a decent institutional market size.
Where do the levers come down? Because let's say the local market might be higher, but the institutional is not. So are they going to say, well, your local market is there, but your institutional market is not? So are they like scales? Do they have to balance out? Like, again, I just have no faith. I have no faith in the system. I have no faith in the powers that be. You've seen what's going on with the college football playoff at this point, with the seeding. Like, the writing has been on the wall for so long. And now you're hearing there's talks, behind scenes of the SEC and the Big Ten breaking away. It's like we've been saying that for the last 2-3 years. So it's like it's just one step further. So if we're just following the breadcrumbs here, this is going to be no different. This is going to continue to push the Power Four programs into another stratosphere while keeping, quite frankly, the vast majority of the other P4 programs and the group of five down.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and we're going to get to that here in a little bit, as we mentioned, the P4 programs, it ain't all of them. So,
no, it is not.
That's where we're going to get into that quite a bit later. The other thing I was going to bring up was, it talks about factoring in athletic performance. Well, we've seen a lot of these NIL battles when it comes to a recruit that hasn't played a snap yet. So are we factoring in now what? You know what I mean? So again, it's like, I know that's why you have all of these factors, but then if you have, what if you have a guy that's really good, but he don't even have an Instagram, and then you have a guy that's not very good, but he's really funny and has 1 million Instagram followers. Like, is he going to get I mean, and that's where, again, that's where, if you're looking at the intent of the business, right? Because if you're paying somebody, you're paying for influence, you're paying for reach. So you'll be able to tell real quick if you're just paying some player to come play that has no social media presence, that doesn't have any kind of personality, and you're just paying them to come play. And at that point, it'd be really hard to prove that your intent as a business owner or as a payer is to better your business objectives, which is what we talked about last week.
Yeah, and I think the whole goal is to push all this into the internal NIL. So the university is now funding this. So, the hopes are maybe eliminating some of these crazy deals. But to me, all this is going to do is, especially in the group of five, you're not going to have a lot of programs that are going to reach that $20.5 million cap. Like, I don't see hardly, any of them reaching that. Maybe Boise, maybe Tulane, maybe Memphis. maybe South Florida, the schools that have that money. But, it's going to be a struggle for, like alma mater, Middle Tennessee. They're going to struggle to get university funds. You know what I mean? Like there's so many schools throughout the country that are not, super well off, that have not been ran properly the right way. And that's what this comes down to. Like you look at these endowments, and that's schools and universities that have good leadership and that have done well, growing their endowment and have, good enrollment, and they have all these things and that honestly are ran more like a business. They're the ones that are going to be ahead, because then they have that money to go ahead and spend it on athletics and invest. But you're going to have a lot of schools that are going to struggle. I just know it's going to happen. I know it. So I think they want it to come in a turtle. That way things are monitored better. But all what's going to happen is your Power 4 schools, they're going to max their $20.5 million out. Now where it gets a little, if you got a kid that you want to pay, I'm just saying, let's just use Nico's situation. $4 million deal, whatever it was, right? Let's say, well, Deloitte only values them at $2 million. Well, we'll give them the outside NIL at $2 million, and we'll just pay them the other $2 million in internal. It's like they're still going to get their money. Those schools are going to be able to basically just like half fund it in and then half fund it out. But most of your group of 5 schools are not going to be able to do that. So there's pros to it, there's cons to it. Again, I just don't see the system working in our favor. I just don't, because it never does.
No, never. Well, here's the other part of it too. So there's 4 different results that we can get from Deloitte that can be determined here. So you can get the deal is cleared, so good to go, not cleared, in review, or the old more information needed. So okay, so here's my question, right? In review or more information needed. Well, what happens if we got, then the portal window closes, or, how long are we going to need to review these processes? And what if a kid goes somewhere or commits somewhere, signs somewhere, and then Deloitte says, nope, not cleared, but now we're already on campus. And, now what? Now what are we going to do? Do you have another portal window for a guy like that? And then here's your options when you get a not cleared deal, by the way. So this is the option that the parties involved can do. They can renegotiate and resubmit their deal. They can proceed at risk of eligibility consequences. They can just cancel the deal, or they can request neutral arbitration. So let me paint a picture for you, Jeff. As we've seen over and over again, not with Deloitte, but with the NCAA and eligibility rules. So I'm going to make a prediction. We should timestamp this, May 27th, 8:21 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guarantee you're going to get something that 2-3 years after the fact gets determined to not be a clear deal. And then what are we going to do? What are you going to do? Vacate some wins? Ooh, the head coach is long gone. Head coach goes to the NFL. He's out of there. What are we going to do? Punish the kids that are there now? Like we do every other time there's an event? We let the head coach go take another job in the NFL. We let everybody go do their thing. And then some kid that was a freshman in high school when it happened is like, oh, now you're not bowl eligible. Now you get less scholarships. Is that what you know what I'm saying? Like, how long is all this going to take? And, we've seen it all the time. We see it with like the dumbest stuff, academic ineligibility, this stuff where there's so much gray area.
It's a mess. And here's the thing. It's like everyone was banking on this settlement to be settled, to be done by July 1. Everybody's been prepping. Somebody keeps calling the hotline. I don't know if somebody's trying to get in.
Get him in last minute, Jeff. Can we get that on the show, maybe?
Just put it in live. No, so like they've been prepping, all the schools, all the athletic departments, every internal rev share, July 1. This is going to pass. They still have not finalized this thing. They are still going back and forth about the roster limit size and what are you going to do with the kids when you cut that number down, the kids that were on scholar or were on your roster, you can't just kick them off. So they talked about grandfathering these kids in, right? but they still can't come to an agreement. So we could potentially get to July and this isn't settled. What are they going to do? Because Deloitte and all this hinges, as far as I understand it, on this settlement. So if this doesn't happen, do you just go back to what it was last year with the crazy NIL deals and the wild, wild west of it all? Like it's a mess. And I don't know if you've been following it all too, the Diego Pavia, injunction. Everybody thought it was like, oh man, everybody in JUCO now, your clock's not going to get started. You can do whatever you want. That's not what that case was. The judge just said, I'm not settling on it right now, and we're going to push it back to a later date. So for Diego Pavia, he was good. But all these things are coming out now that kids thought they were going to get an extra year are not getting that year. They're not getting approved by the NCAA. So some of them that are well off, they're filing lawsuits. And from what I understand, the ones that are doing that are winning. But the kids that aren't filing lawsuits, they're getting their extra year denied. It's a mess, dude. And when this gets settled, let's just say it does get settled before July, there's going to be a whole nother set of lawsuits saying, well, you guys did all this and the players were not represented at all. So let's go back to court and let's just keep suing. It's a mess, dude. I mean, honestly, it really is.
Well, now, do you think if Greg Sankey takes his ball home and leaves the NCAA, half of this will just get fixed just like that? Probably, kind of the way I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it would make it easier, but you're going to still have to have some type of collective bargaining. Like and do you do that per conference? Do you do that there's so many different ways you can do that. And I'm not smart enough to know and understand how that all works, but I know you're going to have representation and you're going to have collective bargaining. So, because it's not going back in the box where players aren't going to get paid. Like that's not happening. But I think they will move on, the SEC and the Big Ten, and then hopefully there's somebody that can come through and reshuffle, reorganize the NCAA as we once knew it and once loved, and get back to as much amateurism as we possibly can, while the players do get benefited.
Jeff, there's one good idea that I've seen come out of the SEC and this media, all the media days that they've been at. There's one good thing, and they've all seemed to agree that they want to just do one portal window in January, which I actually agree with that, Jeff.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's about the one thing I agree with that's come out of these meetings. And we just got to talk about it. Yesterday, Greg Sankey, of course, the SEC commissioner, just kind of came out and just seemed hostile for no reason, number one, to the media that he was talking to. And again, they are just doubling down on this whole strength of schedule argument and on all of these things. And it's like they want every playoff spot. They want, I mean, and they'll never be satisfied is what it comes down to. I mean, you're going to get 3 and 4 teams and potentially 5 if they go to that 16 team. You're going to get 5 or 6 teams if they go to the 16 team playoff, and they still don't. And it's all riding on the fact that they think Alabama should have got in last year.
They want dude.
That's what they want. And again, they just conveniently forget. We've talked about this. I hate to get on here and feel like we're complaining all the time, but it keeps getting brought up. We talked about this so much last year. We talk about it every single playoff. Is they conveniently forget that of the 4 first-round games last year, it was the SEC team that got beat the worst out of all the other ones, out of SMU, out of Indiana, and these yes, they're Power 4, but they're not big brands. All they talk about, Boise shouldn't have been in, Indiana shouldn't have been in, SMU shouldn't have been in. We should have put another SEC team in. They just conveniently forget that out of all those teams that lost by 2 or more scores, Tennessee got beat the worst, just absolutely beat down. And they just leave that one out and think they need to add more, as if the teams that were worse than Tennessee weren't going to get beat. And they always go back to the hypothetical. Then I saw where Kalen DeBoer came out and said, "Oh, I don't know. What if somebody had to play our schedule?" Oh, I don't know. I mean, they probably don't lose to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they might not do so well, and they love to use hypotheticals. But then they come back on people like us and we say, oh, I don't know. What if Boise State wins a game or two? Oh, but that would just never happen. That's a hypothetical that's just not realistic. Okay, well, neither is Boise playing Alabama's schedule, I guess. I mean, what do you want us to do? You know? And they continue to just go back to this, and they talk about all the other sports. And Jeff, I've been saying this forever. In the last, and then everybody gets on there. So on Twitter, the stands of the SEC have jumped in the mentions today, and it's been very fun to watch. Yeah, SEC has won this many of the last national championships, and it's like, no, not the SEC, Alabama and Georgia, and a sprinkled in LSU. That's it.
That's it.
That's the ones. And they go on and on about, no, you don't have a chance to win. Yeah, neither do the 15 other SEC schools. They don't have a chance, and they never have, because 4 teams have won the SEC in the last 15 years, and 2 of those 4 won a combined 3 of them. That's LSU and Auburn. Alabama and Georgia have won the SEC, 12 out of 15 years? And yet, I got to get up here, and you got to tell me Boise State or Tulane or Army or Memphis don't belong? Maybe they don't belong. But neither does Mississippi State, neither does Kentucky, neither does Texas A&M, neither does Oklahoma, neither does Vanderbilt, neither does South Carolina. I mean, so again, it's not. I'm not up here wanting a charity spot, but if we're talking auto bids, and we're talking people, and we're talking strength of schedule, you can't just lose to everybody in your conference and get in because you played a couple good teams. It's like, it is the most baffling thing. When did losing to a good team by a ton, like, when did that mean more than just winning against maybe average or decent teams?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's not just losing to the best teams in your conference by a lot. It's also losing to the other teams that you probably should beat, but yet getting the benefit of the doubt because you're in this great conference. And I'm not going to, I mean, it's a tough conference. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not, but like, if you got 4 losses in your conference, I'm sorry. Like, that, you are built to win in your conference, or at least you used to be. I guess now the way that things are going, it doesn't matter as much because they're taking the meaning out of it. But you could tell that Sankey was not happy. Because the quote that I saw that stuck out to me, he says, I don't need lectures from others about the good of the game. And then he goes on to say, see if I can find this other quote. Where was it? He says, you can issue your press statements, but I'm actually looking for ideas to move us forward. The SEC didn't need the playoff. That was good for the game. Just arrogant.
It is arrogant. And then he went on to talk about they don't think that the strength of schedule that the SEC plays is like that it's getting as much weight as it should. Brother, it's less than 2 years ago, Alabama jumped undefeated Florida State to get into the playoff. It was less than 2 years ago that happened. Florida State, too. Florida State, not Boise State. This is Florida freaking State. This is big time program, borderline blue blood program, undefeated.
No,
and they got jumped by Alabama.
Sprouse, they're in the ACC. That shouldn't happen. They're Power 4.
Well, Jeff, that brings me to the next part of this, which is what we've been saying for the longest. And I'll go even further. We've been saying this about the ACC and the Big 12, and certainly the Pac-12, which we found out real quick about the Pac-12. Washington State, Oregon State. You guys are one of us, buddy. Get ready to learn Group of 5, buddy. And the ACC, they do not. You beat this Power 4 chest. You talk about your Power 4 this, your Power 4 that. They don't consider you that. And again, all of this, and I'll go a step further and tell you we wouldn't be having this conversation if it wasn't Alabama that got left out. If you put Missouri there, you put Mississippi State there, same record, same resume, they weren't that good. They lost some bad games. That's what everybody's saying. So It's like I said, when they want this 16 team, they want these auto bids and they want these play-in games, buddy. It's not because they want Missouri in. It's because they want to give their big brands every chance. The Big Ten, they're the same boat. They want all these teams, but they don't want Indiana in there. They want Ohio State. They want Michigan. They want Penn State. The SEC, they want Alabama. They want Georgia. They want Texas. And then anybody else is, I mean, we'll take them if we need to.
Yeah, if they have a good year, we'll take them.
Yeah, we'll put them in there. But again, it's not the ACC that they don't want. It's SMU that they don't want. Clemson was fine. We were all good with Clemson getting in there. We would have been all good if Miami got in there. It's SMU we don't want in there. Same with the Big 12. If you get freaking, if you, well, God forbid, if you would have got Coach Prime and the mighty Colorado Buffaloes, that would have been just fine. But it's because you got Arizona State. They didn't want that. I mean, it's just crazy to me that people don't see how obvious it is, especially fans of that conference. But here we are. Here we are.
That's why
like Brian Kelly says, here we are again talking about the same things.
I know. I mean, I'm getting tired of going over it, but I mean, it is what it is. And I don't know what eventually is going to happen. I mean, it seems like they're going to break off and do that. And honestly, at this point, like, just go
for it.
Just go and do it. And we'll all reshuffle and we'll have great college football back with regional rivalries that matter, that make sense, that you're not Cal's not traveling to Boston College. Like, we'll get back to I hope, some sort of normalcy. But it's like last year. They didn't want Indiana in there either. They didn't want them. Didn't want them.
And then Indiana loses by 10 at Notre Dame, and they're like, oh, see, look, blown out. And then Tennessee a day later just goes and gets absolutely bludgeoned by Ohio State, and they just bypass that one. They just completely ignore it. Just completely ignore that game. I mean, it's wild, man. It's a wild concept. It's one of those agree to disagree things, I guess. But yeah, at this point, I say go for it. And I would caution those SEC and Big Ten teams that are not one of those top. You're going to need some teams. So one of those top 6, 7, 8. You know what I mean? Like, you better be careful because you could get left with no conference real quick. I mean, again, we saw this. They didn't want Indiana in there. Nobody mentioned at all Illinois, who had, what were they, 9-3, I think, last year?
Yeah.
Were finished number 20 in the country in the Big Ten. So this is my last point on this, and I made this point in freaking December or January or whatever it was during the playoff run, is if the conferences are so good and so deep, then you cannot tell me the Big Ten is so deep if Indiana beats 9 or 8 Big Ten teams and then tell me they didn't beat anybody. Because, well, they beat half the conference. So now you're telling me half of the conference is not very good. So what line does it stop? They said the same thing about Texas in the SEC because SEC fans were all butthurt that first team Big 12 Texas came in there and ran through the SEC. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, they didn't play any of the good teams. Maybe. But then don't sit here and tell me your whole conference is so deep and just making it through your 8-game conference schedule is so tough. If it's not tough, if one team doesn't play the 3 or 4 really good teams. We've said this for years. Nobody's discounting Georgia being on another level. That's the other part of this, Jeff. Do you see somebody on Twitter was like, anybody that thinks Georgia and they use San Jose State are playing the same? Well, of course not. But San Jose State's not playing the same football as Boise State either. And of course they're not. Nobody is, and nobody has for 15 years in the SEC played the same football as Georgia or Alabama.
Or the rest of the country outside of
anybody.
3 teams, really.
Anybody.
I mean, we've said that. We've said every year there's about 3 to 5 teams and sometimes just 2 that are physically different. They are but they're not. That's not just a group of 5. That's every other school in the country because they line up and you can see it on Saturdays or Friday nights or wherever day they play. They are just physically dominant with any opponent that's going to be on the other side.
How many times, Jeff, have we seen a Texas A&M or a Mississippi State or a Kentucky be like 7-0, 8-0, and they give them this top 5 ranking because they're undefeated and they're in the SEC, and then they go play Georgia or Alabama and they just get absolutely smoked, and then they don't win another game.
Yep.
That's not because the SEC is so good. It's because they played the one team that typically the Middle Tennessees of the world got to go play in freaking week 1.
Yep. That's exactly right.
In the other the other part of this is, Jeff, they don't play any road games outside of conference. God forbid they play a neutral site game and it's at a local NFL stadium that's an hour away. That's the only time they don't play a non-conference game at home. They play one less conference game than everybody else. I mean, it's just like it's like you claim that your conference is so good, then you shouldn't be worried about playing some other conference on the road if you're that much better. But instead, you don't play group of 5 teams. You don't even play. You play FCS teams at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just what do we talk about? Nick Saban, how long was he at Alabama? 20 years. Average margin of victory in conference is 3 touchdowns. They beat everybody by a ton. Georgia, I think Kirby Smart's average margin of victory in the last couple of years is like 2.5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Average margin of victory in SEC championship games is more than 2 touchdowns. So you got the 2 best teams in the conference, and the one team that's the best is winning that game by 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, again, don't give me that all 17 of these guys are playing the same level of football, because they're not. They're absolutely not. And you cannot tell me that, and I'm not saying the middle or the bottom half of the group of 5 is playing the same as those guys. I'm not. But I'm telling you, your Boise States, your Tulanes, your Memphis. I mean, we saw it with Tulane the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They might not have won all those games, but they go play Ole Miss, take them down to the wire. I mean, that's your Ole Miss is your 4th or 5th best SEC team year in and year out. And Tulane, along with 2 or 3 others in the American, is a competitor. So again, you got 2 or 3, maybe 4 teams in every single conference that can contend.
Yep. And I mean, and in years past, App State would be right there. You know, I mean, they've been a giant killer for years.
Yep.
You saw Georgia Southern. I mean, they almost beat Alabama, right?
Yeah, they almost beat Georgia.
And then
they did beat Florida.
Yep. Georgia State beat Tennessee. I mean, so you have it. You have it, is the point. So, but before we get to this 12-team straight seeding scenario that's now set in stone, I want to shout out the chat because we got a lot of people in there. A couple new faces as well. Morgan's in there. What's up, Morgan? Joe Judkins is in there. The Green Wave Man is in there. We got Dwight Smith was in there for a minute. What's up, Smitty? Our boy Josh is in there. Everything Texas State's in there. We had Riding Fence is in there. D-Rock 15 is in there. Scotty B, what's up, Scotty? So a bunch of people in the chat this afternoon. Yeah, I think that's about it. At least as far as the new names going far back enough. But if you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, man, come over to YouTube. We got a great live chat that goes back and forth. They're making a bunch of good points in there. And, D-Rock says, who is staying behind because not all P4 schools can pay to stay in those leagues? 100%. Not only can they not pay to stay in it, they can't compete either, and they don't want it. So
well, that's what we've been talking about too, Jeff. Is I saw somebody on Twitter say they're going to take like 50 schools, buddy. It ain't 50. It's realistically, maybe you ask me, it's like 12. Now you could make the case for probably 30, I think, and I think that's about the number you're going to get, 30. But you know what you're going to see if you get those 30? You're going to see the same ones just dominate that group of 30.
Yeah. And that's the thing is the more
change our name to the group of 8 guys and just have a grand old time watching pure college football.
No doubt. And the thing is why they don't want that many teams, because it's more money they have to split.
Correct.
They want the teams that, and the brands, quite frankly, that are going to bring the most viewership, the most revenue to the conference so they can split it and hoard it at the top one way or another. What they'll do is they'll have their 30, then they'll figure out a way to do some type of playoff, and the teams that can go deeper in the playoffs will get more of that playoff cut. So,
well, and we let those idiots make the schedule. They'll be playing playoff games in freaking March by the time they finish the season. We'll be done on New Year's Eve. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm all
You
for
get
it.
me and Jeff on the committee. We'll be done New Year's Eve. We'll enjoy the holidays with our families. I mean,
No doubt about it.
imagine that. But
Get to this 12-team.
look, so yeah,
straight
this is
season.
official now. This is not a proposal. This is not a gaining momentum. This is official. Starting this upcoming season. So we're still going to be at 12 teams. We are going to be straight seeding. So here's some of the rules for this. The top 5 conference champions will still get an auto bid, but not the guaranteed bye week for those top 4. So it will be, if you have one of the top 5 conference champions ranked outside the top 12, they'll still get in, but they'll be at the 12 seed, or it'll be 11 and 12, or wherever they are. So teams are still going to get left out of this thing, by the way. But your top 4 teams, 1 through 4, will get the bye week. 5 through 8 will get home games in round 1 against 9 through 12. Jeff, if you ask me, this is, again, this is simply the powers that be wanting to avoid Tennessee going to Columbus, Ohio in the first round.
Yeah.
That's what I think this is.
Yeah. The two things I don't like about it. I do like the theory of straight seeding, but the problem I don't like about it is you have the committee who's going to be ranking and seeding these teams in a
Correct.
fashion that is going to benefit certain programs over others. And then again, my number one complaint about all this is college football has always been centered around regional rivalries and winning your conference. That is always, the national championship has always been important. Don't get me wrong. But I think winning your conference says a lot, and it means a lot. And I think when you devalue it, it just hurts the entirety of the game. Like, why do I want to see 4 to 6 teams from the SEC or the Big Ten eventually when we expand it to 14 or 16? We've already seen them play in the regular season. Why would I want to see them? Why would I want to see those matchups again? Like, they're just trying to stack it again to give their conference the ability to have more teams, which is more money for the conference, for the teams, to have one of their representatives win it all. Like, you should win your conference, and that should get you in, and then have a couple at-larges. But you don't need 5 or 6 teams from the same conference. We've seen them already. The entire season we saw them. Why do I need to see them again?
Right. And I mean, to me, like, yeah, if you're 5th place in your conference, then I think it's safe to say you're not the best team in the country. And I know people are going to say, well, but they're better than Boise State. Maybe.
I'd rather see the matchup. That's just me.
But we've not proven it. We're seeing that in the NHL right now. We're seeing it right now. I've been seeing these Toronto Maple Leaf fans are mad because they play in the same division as the Florida Panthers. So they had to play the Panthers in the second round of the playoffs, and they took them to 7 games. And now the Panthers, although they did lose last night, Stu, 3-1, I'm starting to get a little worried. And the Panthers are running through the Carolina Hurricanes, and all the Toronto fans are saying, well, see, if we played in this division, we would be in the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's like, yeah, but you would still have to beat the best team. Whether you played them in the first round, the second round, or the third round, you're still going to have to get by them. Only one team is going to win the whole thing. We've been saying this for years, too.
Yeah.
Only one team is going to win. So you're going to have to get through all of these teams at some point. Now, whether you play them on the road or in a neutral site or whatever is kind of where we're at now. And that's what, to me, that's all this is, Jeff. We want to make sure that in round 1, the teams that go on the road are Boise State, SMU, Arizona State, and the teams that have home games are your SEC Big Ten teams. I can promise you that. And then your bye weeks. Now, this is what I'll say, Jeff. The positive of this is, I think you got now, if you're Boise State, I think you got a better chance to finish 5 through 8 than you do 1 through 4.
Yeah.
So, again, we talked about this in December. I'd rather have the home game and have to play an extra game and have 10 days off instead of 30 days off.
I agree with you there. I mean, if they can fix that problem, I think that was the biggest problem last year was having that long layoff. So if you fix that with the scheduling, I think you get back to the advantage of winning your conference and having a better seed and having a 1 week bye is fine. I think having
Yeah.
a month, it's too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
So I
Well,
think that's what they need to get to is let the conference champs have the 1 week bye where they're not sitting around for 30 days. And that's an advantage. And that is an incentive to win your conference.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, we're probably never going to get to this point that I would say of shortening the season and just getting right to it. But it's funny, look, all 4 conference champions that had a bye week or had a bye month, all of them lost. All 4 teams that had a round 1 home game won their home game and then went on to win the second round. And I saw somebody on Twitter, so I'm going to address this, which, well, maybe that's just because they were the better 4 teams. Well, yeah, maybe. But Georgia's one of those teams that lost, and they won the mighty SEC. And nobody would have told you Georgia wasn't one of the best 2 or 3 teams in the country last year, and they lost. So, again, you can't say Boise State and Arizona State lose after, and they just weren't good enough, but Georgia loses, and then it's like, well, they had, the bye week or the bye month. But, we're still going to get a spot. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. I mean,
But
as far as it
what I'm
affects the group of
foreseeing,
5,
though, is right. They're ranked 13, but they won the Mountain West, so we're going to put them in there at 12, and then number 12, Alabama, gets left out again, and we're going to be right back. We're going to have to make changes again because we're going to have to cater to a team that loses 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
Because they didn't get in. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get the toughest matchup. I mean, look, for what it's worth, for having the bye, I thought Boise had the most favorable matchup they could have had. You know what I mean? I think they had.
I like the matchup.
They had the best shot. I mean, you get Penn State, who, look, they lost to Notre Dame by what, 3? And Notre Dame goes on to play a pretty good national championship game. So, like, you lose. I mean, not to talk about the game over and over again, but you don't miss 2 field goals, and you probably at least have a chance to win it at the end. You probably don't win the game, but you lose it by a touchdown.
Well, you just never know. That's
right.
the thing. It's like it's a 1-score game with plenty of time left where we were at that game on the field. They had the momentum. They were gaining the momentum towards the end of the game, but then that missed field goal down the stretch, it just sucked the life back out of him.
Yep.
So you just give yourself a chance at the end, and you never know when you had a home run threat like Ginty, what could have happened. You'll never know.
Well, and my point is, right, and I know that's part of the game, right? You can't say what if. I mean, they lost by goals. Yeah, you got to do it. It's a third of the game is special teams, and you got to do that well. But my point is, you went toe-to-toe with a team that was a field goal away from playing for a national championship game. So don't get up here and tell me how different the levels of football are. That's my entire point of this.
Yeah. The last point, Sprouse, I'll make, and I made it the last show we had, and Josh just brought it up again. Like, at every single level of football, they have it figured out, and it's not rocket science, but for some reason, we just can't figure it out at the highest level of college football. Like, it just baffles me. Like, FCS does it. High schools do
Jeff,
it.
every level of every sport does it.
That's what I'm saying. But
not even just football.
Just to stick to football, because we're talking about football. Like, every other level's got it figured out. My son's flag football league's got it figured out. For God's sakes, why can we not just do it and let the chips fall? Let the games fall. Let the matchups fall. Instead, we're doing all this nonsense. I just can't stand it.
Jeff, before we get to voicemails, because I know we got a couple, right? I mean, I know Stu called every time that Hurricanes lost. So
I got 4 from Stu, which all are relatively short, and then I just had 2 come in live. I think Millie Goat said that he left a 2-parter. So I downloaded them. Hopefully, I have not proofed them. hopefully they
Oh,
are
no.
they're good to go. But yeah,
We'll
we'll
give
play
a
'em.
warning.
We'll
But
try.
before we get to those voicemails, Jeff, I'm gonna ask you this. Two things. One, how'd you feel about just going back to the BCS, man, and letting the computers pick two teams to play for a national championship and everybody else plays in a bowl game?
I don't like it because there's a model out there. Just look one level down. Just do what they do.
Fair.
They
That's
seem
fair.
to have great playoffs every single year in the coldest parts of the country in early December, mid-December. Like,
Yeah,
again,
they find a way, don't
they
they?
find a way, and their
And their
stadiums
best
are
teams
packed
find a way
out.
to win road games
And
when
there's-
they need to.
And their stadiums are packed out in North Dakota and Montana, and
We got to get them in the Mountain West immediately.
well, the Pac Light.
We
I don't
got
know. We haven't heard anything about that conference, right? Have they got a media deal yet?
Well, they're
TV deal?
already. I mean, you notice the media is already calling it the Group of Six. I mean, that's already happening. And I'm telling you, ACC and Big 12, start learning the language, buddy. Start subscribing to the Group of Five guys and quit subscribing
That's
to
it.
ESPN because you're never going to get talked about again. My next question is, Jeff, as I'm thinking about this, a lot of people have pitched. I remember Tip used to be all about the relegation model, the soccer model. Here, well, can I give you what I just was thinking about it as we go? They'll find a way to make the criteria where, again, your biggest brands will just never get relegated, no matter how bad they might do.
Yeah.
That's my fear with that.
Yeah.
And then I think,
the other problem is the money. I don't know how the money works there. I guess the conferences wouldn't care because it'd be the same amount of teams getting the money, but your Vanderbilts of the world, prior to last year would be absolute furious because they'd lose a bunch of money.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to do some more research on it just to see if that'd be a viable option for college football.
Yeah, it'd be tough, and it would be so difficult to sustain.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Group of Five team, and even if you have a ton of success, like a Boise or and you get in, then God forbid you have one down year and you're going to get right back down. That's the problem you have, where you'll have other teams that'll get the benefit of the doubt. It'll look just like the preseason rankings.
Yeah.
You'll have teams that finished 500 or below that get preseason in the top 25, and we got to see it over and over again.
Yeah, again, I just think there's models out there that work, and we just can't seem to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, look, we got a bunch of voicemails, so let's get to them. I think a lot of people didn't know about the voicemail option. So until like yesterday or today, we got it. If you got a hot take, if you're angry and you just want to get something off your chest, if you got a prediction, anything like it, call the hotline. It's 615-900-4286. I don't know. Have we figured out, Jeff? Can you answer that? Or I don't think we can answer it. You pretty much have to leave a voicemail.
Leave a voicemail for now. We may dabble. I can't answer it, and I can sync it to my soundboard. So maybe we can do a little test runs on some live calls. Maybe next show. Next week, I will be in Mexico, friends, or coming back from Mexico. So I don't think we'll.
Yeah, I may be on that little blue couch in the hospital at that point. I ain't doing a show from there, so
we may run
more than likely not going to have a show next week.
Yeah, we'll probably do a test run on it. Maybe we'll start taking a call or two. Show that'd be pretty fun, especially in the off season.
Yeah,
not a ton to talk about. Well, lately there's been a lot to talk about.
Yeah, this has been great. But
yeah,
so what do we got? Let's get to them.
I'm gonna start with Stu's 4, and then we'll see what the ones that just were coming in as we were on the show. So I'll start with Stu's right and his Carolina Hurricane.
Hey boys, as promised, Stu's right from Twitter here. There's about 15 minutes left in the third period of this hockey game, and stupid penalties. Stupid penalties. It's now 4-1, 2 of which were power play goals. And for a team with the best penalty kill in the NHL, they sure have given up a lot tonight. But it's early in the series. All this means is we'll have to take one in Sunrise, Florida, which we're more than capable of doing. Tip of the cap, Sprouse. Looks like you're going to get game 1. But game's in 5.
Oh, no.
And this is Thursday.
Hey, boys. Steve right from Twitter. I hope that football season brings me better fortune than the last several sports seasons have. Not looking good for my Hurricanes. Got to wonder if the long layoff has negatively affected them, because the Panthers just look sharper. It's like playing Iceland at the junior Goodwill games. They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger, they have more facial hair. It's not looking good. We're not dead yet, but it's going to be an uphill climb. Now we're going to have to win 2 in Sunrise. But I think the Canes get back after it. Let's start with a good third period here coming up. And Canes in 6.
And Saturday.
Hey, boys. Who's right? Rouse, tip your cap. Tip my cap. Like we were texting yesterday, I guess the Panthers are just outclassing the Hurricanes. What the Hurricanes need is a Hail Mary from Chase Bryce. But unfortunately, Chase Bryce doesn't play hockey, to my knowledge. This is unbelievable. We were competitive for the first 2 periods. I left the bar. It was 2-1. I got home from the bar. I turned on television like 20 minutes later, 20 real minutes later, not 20 game time minutes later, and it was 6-1. This is probably going to be the last call. I can't bring myself to call you after we get swept, but it seems that it's going to be that way. Anyways, I think we're like 97, 98 days away from App State football, and that's the only thing getting me through this. So, I guess, as Terry Johnson would say, I'll leave you with God bless App State and God bless the Group of 5 guys. Don't expect a call in 2 days from now, because I'm not going to call you to let you rub it into me that my Hurricanes got swept. I hope it happens. Just rip the fucking Band-Aid off. I will say, however, Canes in 7.
And the last one, it's a quick one.
Yeah, you got him a win.
Hey, boys. Who's right on Twitter? Well, we're not dead yet. Finally, didn't give up power play goals. Canes are still alive. Canes in 7.
Oh, Stu, man. I miss those calls. I miss that voice.
I do too. Before last night, Jeff, I've never been a fan of a team that plays to their expectation the way outside of last night the Panthers have. And man, is it wonderful. I mean, you're just totally confident, totally relaxed, nothing like, I mean, it's great. Now, though, they lost last night, which if you remember, last year in the finals, they went up 3-0 and then lost 3 straight, and then they won in Game 7. So that's you want to talk about a bad feeling. And that happened last year in the finals to the Panthers, and then it happened the year before to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, where you went up 3-0 and then lost 3 straight, but then both went and won Game 7. So
see what happens.
I don't know. Now, that being said, they had 3 guys out. Panthers got 3 guys not play last night, so I'm not super worried about it.
They'll be dialed in.
And they are. They are the bigger and more physical hockey team, so they wear down. The longer the series goes, the more benefit to the Panthers, in my opinion.
We saw that in the Mighty Ducks when they played.
Yes, we did.
Olympic Games. So we'll see. Let's get to these last 2, because I have no idea what these are, who they are. I literally just downloaded it. But yeah, I think it was pertaining to what we were talking to earlier. So let's get to it. Check it out.
What's up, everyone? This is AK from the Millie Ghost podcast. Also, fellow Group of 5 truther.
There we go.
I played at App State. Some of the guys on my show or our show played at App State.
Hell yeah.
We are through and through group of 5 guys. We love what the group of 5 guys do for college football. It's spectacular. Love to see the group of 5 guys out there pushing for fairness in football and the way that it should be played on the field, not in the boardroom. Just calling in to talk about this college football playoff, this 12-team playoff, now 16-team, whatever they want to say, all this nonsense they've been. I did a show about this because I went really deep into how did we all stray so far away? How did the big guys stray so far away from what makes college football so pure? So at the risk of not being long-winded, I'm going to try to summarize this as best I can. All the news that Greg Sankey's come out here and just basically been on a tour of like, we don't need the NCAA, we don't need anybody, we don't need this, we don't need that. You got Sarkisian out there saying we just need, it'd be tough to go 16-0, and Lane Kiffin saying put the best 16 teams in. Kalen DeBoer saying Alabama's strength of schedule, nobody else could play that. Kirby Smart saying, 13 of the 16 SEC teams made it, the RPI this and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the whole SEC has come out the last 24 hours and been absolutely ridiculous about this whole thing, about how they don't need anybody. And basically just saying to the rest of the college football world, this is a joke. You all are lucky to have us. The Big Ten's been kind of quiet. They don't really have to say anything because they're the ones that have been winning all the football games, truth be told. But Sankey came out and said, not losing matters more than strength of schedule. There's no college football conference in the world that gets more cushion than the SEC. So them running around looking for, a handout or victimhood or whatever you want to call it is absolutely ridiculous. And it's what's making people so mad. And so that's why people get so passionate about it. I don't know if the SEC is doing it intentionally or if they're just that aloof of like everybody else around you is saying, you got to stop. You're going to ruin the game, and they don't care. I don't understand what they have to complain about. Everything in this system is set up for them to succeed. It always has been since '96. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But, they don't – Sankey's out there saying he doesn't want to be lectured. He wants ideas that will move forward. It's like everybody around you saying, hey, we just want teams to get in and to everybody to play. We want the conferences to matter. We want winning conference championships to matter. And you guys just keep saying, no, winning doesn't matter. It's all about your strength of schedule. Mind you, you are in cahoots with the TV networks that make the schedules, that do all the promotions for the schedule or the rankings. So, to sit there and say that you don't get the benefit of the doubt and we're supposed to feel bad so that,
Part 2.
Hey guys, AK from NIL Go again. Went a little long-winded there. Just wanted to finish up what I was about to go into. It was just, I was going to say, the whole thing, I started looking back about, why this got so out of hand. And I think it all started back in '96 whenever the ABC, ESPN made a deal with the SEC to start allowing them for, to play their games, and did a TV network deal with them. And I think that's really when all it started. And then you had the BCS that inked a deal with ABC to promote their games, all the way up until 2005. From 98 to 2005, it was the BCS on ABC, and ABC had just got their deal with the SEC. And then in 2006, 2010, it went to Fox, the BCS did, and then back from 2010 and on, it's been ESPN. So all I want to say is that we all know what's going on behind the curtain. Like, when you look back at all the national championship matchups from years ago, really around 96, late 2000 or so, like I went back and looked at the list of national championship games and who played in it, who was left in, who was left out. And really, the SEC didn't really start getting into all these games until it was around between 2000 and 2005. And so you sit there and you just read all that, and I put together a whole slideshow or whatever, and I'm like, they think we don't know what's going on. And I just, they can sit there and be like, you guys don't want us, and you just don't know how to evaluate this and that. And it's like, I went through all that, and I found all the data, and I'm like, you can connect the dots plain as day. It's not crazy. It's not rocket science. We all know what's going on here. It's unfortunate. And so we're sick and tired of them trying to squeeze. And also the second point of this is that around 2013, speaking of the group of 5, let's bring it home, the group of 5 teams were beating the Power 4, Power 5 conferences at a rate of about 10 to 13%. Well, within the last 4 years, I found a statistic that the group of 5 teams are now beating the Power 5 teams at a rate of 54%, right? This was all on a chart in a graph that's been proven, that's factual. And so the reason that they got scared and they wanted to kind of control everything and blow it all up is because within the last 4 years, the parity has shifted. The power shifted. It's not about all the top guys anymore, all the big Power 4 or SEC schools, right? There's a collection of 5 or 6 that are really elite, and the rest of them are no better than any of the other conferences, and it's showing in the data, and that's why they're scared. 53% of the Power 5 schools have lost to a group of 5 schools within the last 4 years. 53%, up from 10 to 13% in 2013-14. That's all I wanted to say. I wanted to get it off our chest. I love what you guys are doing. Thank you for the time. Sorry I went long-winded. Two voicemailer there. Anyways, let's play some football.
Hey, shout out.
Well done.
At Millie Goats. That's big time.
Well
That's
done. And, I don't know what the stats are on this, but of the teams that have not lost to a group of 5 team, they probably also haven't lost to a Power 5 team in a long time, and they probably have not played any of the top group of 5 teams, and they damn sure have not played any of them on the road. I can promise you that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably also that little layer of this. This is your Georgia playing Kent State, right? Who, by the way, almost beat them,
Yeah.
but didn't. So what a great call.
Great call. Absolutely.
I gotta go. I'm gonna listen to your show on that tomorrow.
No question.
Millie Goats.
And check them out. And go check them out. He said they played at App State. We got to connect with these guys, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Too busy talking to Stu about the Carolina Hurricanes. That poor guy, man. He's just got a depressed. I'm talking about the Panthers. It's been great. I mean, because then I think he's a Carolina Panthers fan too, which, man, what a tough deal that is.
The last, I shouldn't say that. It's been very up and down roller coaster
It's
for
been a
App
stressful run for the
couple
Mountaineers.
years,
Yeah.
So not what they're.
I like what they got going on in Boone right now, though, but that's for another time.
Yeah. Anyways, take us home, Sprouse.
That's all we got.
That's it.
Beautiful. We guys keep calling that hotline, 615-900-4286. Sorry, we went a little over the hour today. Obviously had a lot to get to, and unfortunately we get pretty passionate after listening to these idiots over the last 24 hours get up on their high horse. But if you like the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you get your best podcast. YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Download the Varsity app for free. Listen to the show on there. Make sure you hit the follow button on all the social platforms at Group of 5 Guys. The most important thing you could do, share the show with your family and friends. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. God bless the Group of 5. God bless the Group of 5 Guys. We're out of here.